So this started on a Thursday night that I didn't even want to be out. I was tired. I'd had a long day at work. And honestly, things between Diana and me hadn't exactly been great for a while. Still, when your wife texts you saying, "Can we have dinner? Just talk," you go. At least, I did. Because part of me hoped, foolishly, that maybe she was ready to actually fix what was broken between us. Maybe she realized what we were losing. She picked the place. Fancy steakhouse downtown. Candles on the table, the kind of place where the napkins are folded like little boats and the waiter talks to you like he's auditioning for Broadway. I remember thinking it was a bit much for a talk, but Diana always did like making things look better than they were. When I got there, I noticed her right away, sitting near the back, already at the table. She wasn't alone. He was sitting next to her, leaned back like he owned the place. Tight black shirt, sleeves rolled to the elbows, the kind of guy who probably practices his smirk in the mirror every morning. And Diana? She was laughing, hand way too close to his leg. Her body turned toward him in that way women do when they want a man to notice them. You know what I mean. My heart sank, but I kept walking, because I didn't want to believe what I was seeing. She stood up halfway, kissed my cheek like nothing was wrong, then gestured to the empty chair across from them. "Mason, this is Tyler. You've heard me mention him from work." Yeah, I'd heard of him. Too many damn times. Tyler helped me finish the new design for the Bergman project. Tyler thinks my ideas are brilliant. Tyler just gets me. I used to joke he was her work husband, but standing there now, it didn't feel like a joke anymore. I sat. Slowly. My stomach was already twisting. I forced a smile, nodded to him. He just looked at me like I was something stuck to the bottom of his shoe. His handshake, if you can call it that, was limp, dismissive. The waiter came over with a wine list. Diana ordered for both of them. Didn't even ask what I wanted. Then it started. Small talk, if you could call it that. Diana talking about work like this was some kind of networking event. Tyler throwing in stories, all of which ended with her laughing too loud and looking at him like he hung the damn moon. I sat there, fists clenched under the table. I couldn't even taste the bread. And then, the bomb dropped. Tyler leaned in, real close, looked me dead in the eye and said, "Calm as anything. I'll make this simple. You've got two options. Leave quietly, or face me like a man." I swear, everything went quiet. The clinking forks, the background music, even Diana's fake laughter. All gone. All I could hear was the blood rushing in my ears. I looked at her. She didn't look surprised. Didn't stop him. Didn't flinch. She just smiled. Like this was going exactly how she planned it. Like this wasn't just dinner, it was a performance. And I was the fool reading lines from the wrong script. I don't remember standing up. I just remember the feeling, years of frustration, of being ignored, shut out, talked down to, all crashing to the surface. My chair scraped the floor. Tyler smirked, like he thought I was going to walk out. Instead, I looked him in the eye and said, "You want your teeth whole, or in pieces?" Next thing I know, his face met the table. Plates shattered. Glass tipped. Wine flew, a dark red splash across Diana's white dress that looked. People gasped. Someone screamed. Tyler tried to stand up, but I made him fall down again. Diana was screaming now, grabbing at my arm. "Mason, stop. You're embarrassing me." Embarrassing her. After she brought me to a restaurant like I was her ex she needed to catch up with. After she sat me across from the guy she'd been fawning over for months and let him talk to me like I was a damn dog. She was worried about appearances. Security came fast. I didn't resist. My shirt stained, part hollowed out. I was dragged out past tables of wide-eyed strangers, most pretending not to look. Outside, in the cold, I stood there and realized this wasn't the beginning. It was the end. That dinner wasn't a warning shot. It was the execution. Diana didn't bring me there to fix things. She brought me there to watch me lose. And I had walked in like a man, still believing the woman sitting across from me could be saved. I was wrong. When I got home that night, everything felt wrong. Not in the dramatic, movie scene kind of way. No thunder or shattered glass. Just a quiet wrongness, like the air itself was heavier. I shut the door behind me and stood there for a minute, listening. No sound. No footsteps, no kitchen clatter, no soft humming from the other room like Diana used to do. The house smelled unfamiliar. There was her usual perfume, but something else under it. Musky, sharp, expensive, definitely not mine. I followed the scent to the hallway and paused outside the bedroom. The bed was made. Perfectly. Tight corners, pillows lined up, everything tucked like a hotel room. Diana never made the bed like that, not once in the years we'd lived here. I usually threw the blanket over the mattress and called it good, and she just shrugged. This wasn't her handiwork. I sat down on the edge, still dressed from the restaurant disaster, and looked around. The furniture was the same, the photos on the wall hadn't moved. But the energy? It was off. The room felt like someone had scrubbed it down and tried to erase something they didn't want found. I didn't plan to look through her stuff. That wasn't me. I'd never been the snooping type. But something in me, call it gut instinct or maybe just pure survival mode, told me I needed to know. I started at her vanity. Her tablet was sitting there, plugged in. No lock screen, no passcode. She once told me I didn't need it because she had nothing to hide. I tapped it on. Her photo gallery opened instantly. First thing I saw was a mirror selfie. Diana, wearing next to nothing, in a hotel room I didn't recognize. Her hair was down. Her lips were parted in this way I hadn't seen in months. The timestamp said it was last weekend, when she told me she was in Sacramento for Lacey's baby shower. Swipe. There she was again, laying on a hotel bed, the same unfamiliar room. In the background, clear as daylight, was Tyler. Shirtless. Holding a toothbrush. He wasn't even trying to hide. He looked comfortable. Like this wasn't the first time. My stomach dropped. It felt like the room spun. I wanted to stop looking, but I couldn't. There were more pictures. More videos. One of them, she was filming herself, whispering into the camera, "He still thinks we're just going through a rough patch." Per baby. That line. Per baby. It echoed in my head like a bell. She said it like I was a joke. Like I was an old dog lying by the door, too dumb to know the leash had already been cut. Then came the messages. I opened the chat between her and Tyler. It wasn't just flirty banter. It was months of conversation. Voice notes, emojis, inside jokes, plans. She sent him photos of meals I made. "He still cooks like we're happy," she wrote once, followed by a laughing emoji. He replied, "Let him. We'll let him keep the lights on." They planned weekends together. Outings. Even stupid things like matching tattoos. In one message, he called her my little secret. She giggled back in a recording, whispering that she felt like a teenager again, that he made her feel alive. And I was the one washing her car, fixing the leaky faucet, picking up dinner on Thursdays because she said work was exhausting. She told him I was too soft, too predictable. She said I didn't challenge her, that I made her feel bored, that I was more of a roommate than a partner. She called me safe, like that was a flaw. I don't remember when I started crying, or if I really did. My eyes burned, and my hands shook so bad I almost dropped the tablet. I just kept reading, listening, watching, letting it all crash over me like a tidal wave I'd never seen coming. Every odd moment from the last year made sense now. The way she'd started dressing up more for work events, when she used to live in leggings. The sudden nights out with the girls, even though I never met them. The way she rolled her eyes when I tried to be affectionate. The cold shoulder. The "I'm tired" excuses. The look on her face when I asked if we were okay. She hadn't just drifted. She'd left. Quietly. Carefully. She left me emotionally long before Tyler ever touched her. I just hadn't seen it because I was still fighting for something she'd already abandoned. I set the tablet down. I didn't throw it. I didn't scream. I just sat there on the bed, our bed, staring at the photos on the wall. One of them was from our 5th anniversary. We were standing on a hill at sunset. Her smile back then? It looked real. Now I didn't know if it ever had been. The truth was in my hands now. Cold, cruel, and undeniable. She wasn't confused. She wasn't unsure. She was gone. And I was just now catching up. She came home the next morning like nothing had happened. I was sitting at the dining table, still in the same clothes from the night before, the same dull ache in my chest. Her tablet was open in front of me, screen still lit up, one of those messages staring back at me like it had teeth. Diana walked in carrying her usual overpriced coffee cup, wearing that gray sweater she always threw on when she wanted to look casual, like she was trying to be the relatable version of herself. She didn't even look up from her phone as she kicked off her shoes. She walked right past me toward the kitchen. I didn't say a word. I just waited. She poured her coffee into a mug, took a sip, then finally noticed I was just sitting there, watching her. "What?" she said. I didn't answer. I just turned the tablet slightly, so she could see the screen. Her eyes flicked down. Froze for half a second. Then came the sigh, long, slow, annoyed. "Why were you snooping through my stuff?" That was the first thing out of her mouth. Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "It's not what it looks like." Not even a fake explanation. Just deflection. Like I was the one who broke something. "You lied to me," I said, my voice lower than I expected. "For months." She rolled her eyes and leaned on the counter. It wasn't like I was trying to hurt you. I laughed once, flat and bitter. You weren't trying? That what all the photos are? The videos? That's not hurting me. She shrugged. We weren't happy. You haven't been paying attention for a long time, Mason. I stood up, my chair pushing back across the floor. I was right here, Diana. Every day. Trying. While you were out in hotels calling him your secret, I was the one holding this house together. Oh, please, she snapped, setting her cup down a little too hard. You think buying groceries and mowing the lawn makes you a great husband? I think not lying, not sneaking around, not mocking your partner behind their back makes you a decent human being. Her mouth twisted into something between a smirk and a sneer. You got comfortable. You stopped trying. You became boring. Tyler made me feel alive again. I stared at her for a long moment. Her eyes didn't blink. There wasn't a shred of guilt in them. Only irritation, like I was ruining her morning. So that's what it is, I said. You traded stability for compliments. Loyalty for whatever that was. He listens to me, she said quietly. He actually sees me. I shook my head. He sees what you show him. Same as I did, back when you were still pretending. She folded her arms, staring at me like I was the problem. You just don't get it, do you? No, I said. I do. I get it now. You've already left. You just forgot to pack your bags. That was when she stepped forward, voice rising. You want to make this about me being the villain, fine. But maybe if you'd been more of a man, I wouldn't have had to look somewhere else. I felt something inside me go still, not rage, not sadness. Just still. I grabbed the duffel bag I'd already packed the night before. It was by the hallway, zipped and waiting. You're just going to walk out, she snapped. That's it. I slung the strap over my shoulder. You already walked out. I'm just catching up. As I passed her in the hallway, she muttered something under her breath. I stopped. What? She looked me in the eye and said, You were never man enough for me. I didn't flinch. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't let her see a single crack. I just walked out the door, down the steps, out into the morning that felt colder than it should have been. The sun was up, the sky clear, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel tethered to anything. Not a promise. Not a lie. Not a person who looked me in the face and chose someone else while still wearing my ring. I drove with no music on. Just the sound of the road and the steady beat of my thoughts catching up with everything I had ignored. I wasn't angry. I wasn't heartbroken. I was done. Not defeated. Just done. The short-term rental I moved into was nothing special. One bedroom, small kitchen, the kind of place with thin walls and weak water pressure. The first few nights, I couldn't sleep. I'd just sit on the worn-out couch with a blanket tossed over me, staring at the ceiling or scrolling through photos I should have deleted. I hit bottom quick. No appetite. Couldn't focus. Couldn't even watch TV without thinking about what she might be doing in our house, the one I still paid for. Diana hadn't called or texted. Not once. She was probably waiting for me to come crawling back. That's the kind of person she was. She believed she could get away with anything, and I'd eventually fold like I always had. But something changed. One morning, I looked in the mirror and saw someone I didn't want to be anymore. Pale, hollow-eyed, beaten down. I splashed cold water on my face, made a pot of coffee, and started making a list. I wasn't going to cry over what was already broken. I was going to understand it, all of it. I wanted to know how far it had gone. I needed answers, not for closure, but for clarity. I called Vince. Vince and I had gone to school together. He did 10 years with the county sheriff's department before quitting to do private work. He owed me a favor from way back, and this felt like the right time to cash it in. I told him everything. Gave him names, dates, whatever I could remember. He nodded through most of it. Didn't say much except, You want full background, or just proof? Everything, I said. He got to work fast. Within a few days, he had more than I expected. Diana hadn't just lied, she'd built a whole side life. Hotel stays billed under an alias. Gift receipts for expensive watches, clothes, dinners. The card she used? Our joint account. One charge caught my eye, a weekend getaway at a spa resort 3 towns over. That was the same weekend she claimed to be visiting her cousin in the hospital. There were texts Vince recovered from her old cloud backup. In one, she told Tyler not to worry about the money stuff. She said she'd move some savings under her sister's name to protect it from Mason if it comes to that. She called me naive. Said I wouldn't know how to fight even if I wanted to. That did something to me. Flipped a switch, maybe. For the first time since all this started, I wasn't just sad. I was focused. I sat down and put together a folder. Printed every receipt, every email, every bank transaction. Vince helped with the formatting, made it neat, organized, solid. I wanted this to be clean. No yelling, no scenes, just facts. A week later, Diana texted. First time I'd heard from her since I walked out. Can we talk? I think we need to figure things out like adults. I didn't reply right away. I waited 2 days. Then I said, come by Friday at 7. She showed up exactly on time. Same sweater, hair tied back, like she was trying to look soft and civil. She brought a bottle of wine and her planner, like we were going to divvy up bills over drinks. She sat on the couch. I stayed at the table. She crossed her legs and started talking, something about being mature, finding a fair arrangement, making this work for both of us. I didn't say a word. I just slid the folder across the table toward her. She didn't reach for it right away. Her smile twitched. Then she opened it. First page, bank statements. Second, hotel bills. Third, her own text messages. I watched the color drain from her face. She flipped through slowly, every page louder than anything she was saying. Mason, what is this? She asked finally, voice lower. Evidence, I said, of who you really are, of what you've done. She set the folder down. You've been spying on me? I shook my head. You gave me every reason to. She didn't speak after that. Just stared at the papers like they might rewrite themselves if she looked hard enough. I stood up. We're done talking. From now on, anything else goes through a lawyer. Diana didn't argue. For the first time, she didn't have a comeback. No fake tears. No angry words. Just silence. She left the wine behind. I poured it down the sink. That was the night I stopped feeling like a victim. I wasn't just reacting anymore. I was building something not out of revenge, but out of truth. Something I could stand on, even if everything else had already fallen apart. The courthouse smelled like floor cleaner and stale coffee. I sat in the hallway outside our assigned courtroom, watching the second hand tick around the wall clock. I had a manila folder in my lap, the same one I gave Diana 2 weeks earlier. My lawyer, Ruth, sat beside me flipping through her notes like this was just another case. For her, it probably was. Diana showed up 10 minutes late, naturally. She wore a navy pantsuit, hair straightened, makeup subtle but careful. She looked like she was heading into a board meeting, not into the room where our marriage would be taken apart. I don't think I'd seen her dress that modestly since before Tyler came into the picture. She didn't look at me at first. Just handed something to her lawyer, a guy in his 40s with slick hair and a tight jaw, the kind of guy who probably charges extra for smirking. I caught her glance a few times after that. Quick looks. Not long enough for anything meaningful. The bailiff called our names, and we were led into the courtroom. Plain walls, plain benches, plain everything. The judge was a middle-aged woman with tired eyes and a voice like she'd already heard every excuse in the book twice. We sat at our tables. Her side, all polished and professional. Mine, simple and quiet. Ruth stood when the judge asked for opening remarks and got right to it. Clear. Calm. The tone of someone holding a loaded deck. Her lawyer stood next and talked about how both parties have agreed to a peaceful dissolution and how disputes regarding assets can be resolved without undue conflict. It was all generic until Ruth interrupted. Your Honor, we have documentation that contradicts the notion of peaceful cooperation. The judge raised an eyebrow. Go on. That's when Ruth pulled out the folder. She handed copies to the judge and opposing counsel. The originals she kept. Diana's lawyer took one look and immediately leaned toward her, whispering with the urgency of a man trying to put a lid on a boiling pot. Diana looked at the pages. Her hand twitched. Just barely, but I saw it. She swallowed and looked at me for the first time since she walked in. She knew what was in there: charges on joint accounts for hotel bookings, text messages discussing hidden savings, receipts for gifts to Tyler, all tied back to her. It wasn't just about infidelity. It was financial betrayal, planning, deceit. Her lawyer straightened up and asked for a recess. The judge agreed. We all stood up, but no one spoke. I stayed seated while Ruth leaned in and said, that shook them. She thought this was going to be polite. After the recess, things changed fast. Diana's lawyer came back and looking less confident. He offered new terms, more generous. She'd step back from a few contested assets. She wouldn't fight me on the house. She'd forego a claim to my retirement fund. The judge asked if I agreed. I did. There was no dramatic monologue from Diana. No tears. No accusations. Just the sound of papers being passed around and signatures being scribbled. The judge looked over the final agreement, then said the words that closed the book. This court recognizes the dissolution of marriage between Mason and Diana Carter. Case concluded. Just like that. I stood up. I didn't look at Diana again. Not really. I saw her out of the corner of my eye, still sitting at the table, pretending like it didn't sting. Her lawyer whispered something again. She nodded, slowly. Her shoulders weren't as straight as when she walked in. Outside the building, the sky was overcast, but the air felt clearer than it had in weeks. Ruth shook my hand and told me I did good, that not losing my temper was the smartest thing I could have done. I thanked her and walked toward the lot, no real plan for what came next, but feeling lighter all the same. As I crossed the street, my phone buzzed. I didn't have to look. I already knew. It was Tyler. Or maybe it was Diana. Either way, I ignored it. I could imagine him texting her from the car, waiting outside like a loyal sidekick, asking if everything went okay, probably expecting her to walk out victorious. But she didn't win anything. Not today. She walked out of that courtroom with her name legally detached from mine and half her dignity left in a file folder. I walked out with peace. And that was all I needed. After the divorce was finalized, there was this strange quiet that settled over everything. At first, I didn't know what to do with it. Waking up without hearing Diana clinking dishes in the kitchen or blasting some self-help podcast while she got ready. No texts. No arguments over the thermostat. Just stillness. I thought I'd hate it, but after a few days, it started feeling like peace. I gave myself a few weeks to float. No deadlines, no big life moves. I kept things simple: morning coffee, walks around the block, checking in on myself the way you'd check on a car after a long road trip. I realized pretty quick that I'd let myself go, not just physically, but in every way. I'd stopped caring about the man in the mirror. I used to be stronger, more present. Somewhere along the line, I faded out trying to keep everything around me running. So I bought a gym membership. Nothing fancy. Just a neighborhood place with old machines and rust on the dumbbells. I went every morning before work. But more than that, my mind cleared. There's something about sweating out bitterness that helps more than any therapy session. I wasn't thinking about Diana as much. I wasn't replaying her voice in my head, or the look on her face that day in court. I was moving forward, quietly, but steadily. I even called my brother. Haven't spoken to him in over a year, mostly because Diana used to say he drained my energy. Truth is, he just never liked her. Thought she was manipulative. Said it to my face once, and she never forgave him. I let the silence grow between us because it kept the house quieter. When I finally called, he picked up on the second ring. Didn't even sound surprised. About damn time, he said. We met for burgers that night. Talked for 3 hours. Didn't even bring her up until the end, and even then, it was just a shake of the head and a "I told you so" that came with no judgment. Felt good. Real. One Friday evening, I stopped by a bookstore on the way home from work. Didn't need anything in particular. Just wanted to walk the aisles, touch some spines, maybe pick up something new. I wandered over to the fiction section and knocked a book off the shelf with my elbow. It hit the floor, and a woman bent down to pick it up before I could. "The Stranger, huh?" she said, reading the title. Heavy read for a guy with such kind eyes. I laughed, probably the first genuine one in a while. She handed it back. Wavy brown hair, no makeup, jeans, and a hoodie. She didn't look like someone trying to be noticed, she just was. Her name was Eva. We stood there talking for almost an hour. Books turned into music. Music turned into travel stories. No pressure. No weird flirting. Just two people in a bookstore, being people. A week later we met again. Coffee this time. We sat by the window, both of us holding warm mugs but not rushing through them. The conversation was easy. I didn't feel like I had to perform or impress or hold back some part of myself to avoid criticism. She asked questions because she wanted to know, not because she was fishing for control. There were no fireworks. No grand gestures. Just calm. That was enough for me. We didn't make big plans. We didn't talk about the future. We just met up sometimes. Walks in the park, late-night calls, a shared sandwich on a bench overlooking the river. It wasn't about moving fast. It was about feeling normal again. And somehow, that meant more than any big romance ever could. I didn't tell her everything right away. She didn't ask. She let me be. That's what I needed most. Just space to exist. To breathe without apologizing. And for the first time in a long, long while, I wasn't rebuilding for someone else. I was rebuilding for me. A couple months had gone by. The weather was changing, and so was I. I was getting better at sitting with the quiet. I had a routine, sleeping better, and Eva and I were seeing each other regularly. Things were calm, predictable, in a good way. One afternoon, I was walking out of the hardware store, just needed some wood stain for an old table I was fixing up, when I saw someone leaning on a black Dodge Charger by the edge of the lot. It was Tyler. He looked rough, not in the beat-up, bruised kind of way, but in that life just hit me like a truck kind of way. Hair messy, dark circles under his eyes, clothes wrinkled like he hadn't cared how he looked when he got dressed that morning. No smug grin. No swagger. Just a guy who looked like he hadn't slept right in days. I stopped walking. We hadn't seen each other since that night at the restaurant, the night I introduced his jaw to a dinner plate. He straightened up when he saw me. Didn't try to smile. Didn't reach for a handshake. "Mason," he said. Quiet. Cautious. I just stared. "What do you want?" He ran a hand through his hair. "I wouldn't be here if I didn't need to be." I didn't say anything. He took that as a green light. "I think I made a mistake," he said. "About a lot of things." Still, I waited. He nodded to himself, like he was rehearsing. "I believed everything she told me. That you didn't care. That you were cold. That she tried, and you just gave up on her. And you saw your chance," I added. He didn't argue. I did. And I told myself it wasn't really wrong because she was already gone. She wasn't gone, I said. She just hadn't finished using me yet. That one stung. I could see it in his face. He shifted his weight. "She's seeing someone else." I raised my eyebrows. "Some guy from her yoga class," he said. "They've been sneaking around for a while, I think." I noticed she started dressing up for class, staying late, coming back with excuses. All the signs. I crossed my arms. "You sound familiar." He gave a half laugh, more sad than amused. "Yeah, I figured. You ask her about it?" He nodded. "She says I'm imagining things. Said I'm paranoid. Said I'm trying to control her. Then started picking fights out of nowhere. Told me I make her feel boxed in. That she needs to breathe." I looked him over. "Welcome to the club." He didn't defend himself. Didn't blame me. He just looked tired. "I didn't think it would happen to me," he said. "She made me feel like I was different. Like we were starting fresh." I shook my head. "You weren't a fresh start. You were just the next part." That hit him. He didn't deny it. "She used to talk about you," he said after a pause. "Said you were boring. Routine. Said you stopped noticing her." I let out a slow breath. "She said the same about the guy before me." That seemed to confirm something for him. "I really thought she loved me," he said. "But I think she just loved the attention." I didn't reply. "She's not who I thought she was," he added. "No," I said. "She's exactly who she showed you she was. You just chose not to see it." He leaned back against his car, folding his arms. "I don't think she knows how to be alone." I shrugged. "Some people don't. They'll bounce from one set of arms to the next because silence feels like failure." He nodded slowly, staring at the ground. "I'm not here to make things right," he said. I needed to say it. You didn't deserve what she did. And I helped her do it." I looked him in the eye. "You believed what you needed to believe to get what you wanted. I've done the same before. We all have." He swallowed hard. "Do you think she ever loved anyone?" I tilted my head. "Only herself. And even that comes and goes." There was a long pause. He didn't try to argue. He didn't ask for forgiveness. "I don't know what to do now," he said. "I feel hollow." "You'll rebuild," I said, "if you let yourself." He nodded again, still not looking at me. I walked away after that. Didn't offer a handshake. Didn't trade numbers. I figured he didn't want anything more than what we'd already exchanged: truth, raw and uncomfortable. He came looking for clarity. He found it. And maybe that's the only thing she left either of us with. A mirror. One he had to stare into, just like I did. Only difference was, I'd already started walking past it. He was still standing there, trying to figure out who the hell was looking back. Months had passed. The seasons changed. The heat gave way to cool evenings, and the noise that used to follow me everywhere started to fade. Not just the noise from outside, traffic, voices, the sound of my own thoughts, but the noise inside. The part of me that kept replaying old fights, second-guessing decisions, and wondering what I missed. It got quieter. Life didn't turn magical. There were still bills, still days where I got frustrated for no reason, still mornings where I didn't want to get out of bed. But the weight on my chest that had been there for over a year, that was gone. Eva helped with that, in ways I don't think she even realized. She never pushed. She didn't come in trying to fix me. She just showed up. She asked how I was feeling and meant it. She brought over soup when I caught a cold and didn't make a big show about it. She laughed with her whole face and didn't flinch when I told her I wasn't always proud of how I'd handled things. One Sunday, we were sitting out on the balcony of my place. She was barefoot, tucked into a blanket, drinking tea. I had a mug of coffee that had gone cold, but I didn't care. We weren't saying much, just watching the sky get darker, listening to the neighborhood quiet down for the night. She looked at me and said, "You know, your past wasn't your fault. What she did, that wasn't about you." I didn't know what to say, so I just listened. She was like a broken reflection, Eva said, always looking for a mirror to show her what she wanted to see. It stuck with me. I opened my laptop to check emails before bed, and there it was. A name I hadn't seen in a long time. Diana Carter. Subject line, "Please just hear me out." I stared at it for a long time before opening it. She wrote about how she missed being seen, how she thought about us often, said she was sorry for how things went, that she hadn't realized what she had, that things with Tyler had ended, that she'd made mistakes, that she'd felt lost, that I always made her feel safe, valued. Said she missed that. It wasn't long, but every line dripped with regret, not for what she did, but for what she lost. She didn't miss me. She missed being adored. She missed someone picking up the slack. She missed the stability I gave her while she chased chaos. She missed the pedestal, not the person standing beside her. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say, nothing she could write that would change the truth we both lived. She made her choices. So did I, and I'd already moved on. Eva knew the whole story, every messy detail. I told her one rainy afternoon when we were cooking dinner together, barefoot, laughing over burnt rice and too much garlic in the chicken. She didn't judge me, didn't give advice. She just held my hand when I needed it and let me tell it my way. I reconnected with people I'd shut out. Friends I hadn't talked to in years because I'd been too caught up in a life that was never really mine. I reached out, apologized, made space. And most of them welcomed me back without hesitation. That was the thing I learned most. Real people don't need you to be perfect. They just need you to be honest. Sometimes Eva and I just sat in silence, watching the world go by, and I realized that kind of peace isn't loud. It doesn't need to prove itself. It just stays. I never went back to check on Diana. Never stalked her social media. Never asked around. She became something like a name from high school. Familiar, but irrelevant. A chapter one didn't need to reread. She had her chance. She spent it on someone who liked his reflection more than anything else. I had mine now. Someone who didn't need the spotlight. Someone who didn't treat love like a stage performance. Someone who saw me, all of me, and chose to stay anyway. Ask me anything. No, I'm not taking her back. Yes, Eva knows everything. And yes, that punch at the restaurant? Totally worth it. Share your thoughts in the comments. How would you have responded if someone told you to leave quietly in your own relationship? If you liked the story, subscribe to the channel and give us a like.